The people are losing their collective minds because it's unbelievable. Trevor Lawrence, in an exhibition game in New Orleans, looked human. He did. He looked like an average to below average player at times in the Big Easy. He was unspectacular. Not the human highlight film that he was most of the time at Clemson. Now, he did occasionally have a stink bomb at Clemson, but for the most part, he was great in college. Now, Lawrence, at one point in the first half, he needed a life preserver as would-be New Orleans defenders, like a beehive. They were swarming and buzzing, and they were swimming past the Jags offensive line there like they were swimming in the mighty Mississippi. And how bad was it? How bad? Well, you got to look at the overall sack percentage or pressure percentage. There's a stat for everything. People making a big deal about this. That Trevor Lawrence was pressured on almost 40% of his dropbacks in that exhibition game Monday night. 37% in this preseason. In fact, overall, it's 37%. Second highest among 42 quarterbacks who've at least had 25 drop-back attempts. The only one that has been pressured more is a Super Bowl hero, a guy that had the greatest single postseason run in the history of pro football, jump ball Joe Flacco. That's it in the exhibition season. All of that has led to the wild position that a handful of pundits have put out there that the offensive line is so bad. How bad is it? Glad you asked. The offensive line is so bad that Urban Meyer must sit Trevor Lawrence at the beginning of the season and possibly all year go with Gardner Minshew to not destroy Trevor Lawrence's fragile confidence and preserve his body for future years. So let us discuss. Okay, that's what's bouncing around. So let us discuss. That's what we do here. We parse these stories. So here's the question, should the Jags keep Trevor Lawrence in mothballs to protect him from the mincemeat offensive line, which appears to be there in Jacksonville? So my response here is to pump the brakes on this. I roll my eyes at this nonsense. Now, my views, you've got the Express Train, Wizard of Oz, and Bamboo. And we will connect all of these things together into an adequate Mal or monologue to help get you through the overnight. Now, first of all, Trevor Lawrence, he needs to start week one, nothing outside of injury. That's the only way he does not start at the beginning of the regular season. It is absurd, patently absurd to think otherwise. Jacksonville, as a franchise, meandering. They tanked to get Lawrence. They were more successful than the Jets at tanking to get Trevor Lawrence. The Jets wanted Trevor Lawrence, and they effed that up. All right, you play the man, right? You play the man on the job training, and yet there are a handful of these mamalukes who want Urban Meyer to have Trevor Lawrence stand on the sidelines, twiddle his thumbs, wear a baseball cap, and walk around and not play. Instead of wearing a uniform, why don't they just wrap him in bubble wrap? How about that? He shouldn't leave his house. He might get injured on the way to the stadium for the game. How does this work exactly? Now, some of these pearl-clutching bozos I'm convinced would rather see Trevor Lawrence tap out of the NFL season, throw in the sponge. That's it. I'm good. Wait a couple years. Jacksonville will have more first-round picks, and they'll get some stud linemen, and it's just unreal. That people are saying this kind of nonsense. I know the overreaction machine always takes place there, but if you take 3 steps back and a deep breath and you exhale, just like that. This is another example of the zeitgeist of our time, the DEFCON 1 level of reaction, being a prisoner of the moment, as we like to say in these parts, because every man, woman, and child who seemingly is more offended than the other regarding Trevor Lawrence because he's playing for a dog food team, a bad to the bone team. I'm not even sure if that's true. People freaking out because of some exhibition games. It's blasphemy, right? And we just kind of we put our head down, we just shake our head. Right? You buy a ticket, if you're in that camp, you buy a ticket to jump on the express train because you're headed to Softtown. And I don't want to go there. Everyone has made this out to be something it's not. And if you're thinking, well, you can't play Trevor Lawrence because he might get hurt, what a terrible attitude. What is it? You're made out of cotton candy? Your skin is made out of cotton candy? Do we live in a world where star athletes cannot face any adversity, that your favorite athlete has to be surrounded by great offensive linemen, and God forbid they're not, and if not, you can't play the game? They can only perform in perfect conditions with brilliant players and great coaches, and if not, shouldn't play. Not worth it. Gag me. All right, now secondly, Trevor Lawrence, the thing that you should be concerned about, and we've talked about this in previous episodes, is that he had made comments back, I think it was in January, Trevor Lawrence did, about football not being important. It's important, but not the most important thing. I forget exactly, I'm paraphrasing, but he's not hardwired like Tom Brady or Michael Jordan, not motivated to prove the doubters wrong, which everyone in sports says, right? Anybody that wins, nobody thought we could do it. Well, not Trevor Lawrence. He doesn't care about that. At least that's what he said. Tried to walk it back, tried to put the toothpaste back in the tube. Didn't really work. But as we said in that previous episode, we talked about this, that is concerning. The play on Monday night, I'm not there. I watched it. I was hoping to watch a baseball game that would drag me away, that really captured my heart and mind. It didn't happen. But we're going to find out how committed Trevor Lawrence is, how invested he is in embracing the growing pains. Because it's an eye-opening situation. In the preseason so far, Trevor Lawrence has attempted 32 passes. He's completed 20 of them. No touchdowns, no interceptions. His passer rating, at 184 yards passing, his passer rating is 78.1. It's a very small sample size with a vanilla offensive game plan, although you could argue with Schottenheimer's kid around, they will have a vanilla offense throughout the season. But this is the football version of the Wizard of Oz, because instead of saying, hey, Toto, I've got a feeling we're not in Kansas anymore, the lines have been modernized. And instead, it's Trevor Lawrence saying, hey, Toto, I've got a feeling we're not in Clemson anymore. Yeah. Playing for Jacksonville is a different version of Death Valley. Instead of the yellow brick road from the Wizard of Oz, you have the barren wasteland of rubble, minefields over there, and abandoned trenches somewhere in that direction. Now, that's it. I am not walking back my previous comments on Jacksonville. There is an opportunity here to flourish. So, final thought on this. Now, Trevor Lawrence is not the first. He will not be the last blue-chip college quarterback that ends up treading water in the sewer at the start of their career. John Elway got off to a rocky start with the Denver Broncos. Troy Aikman, the Dallas Cowboys were morbid. Peyton Manning, not good. Not good at all. All of them began on teams that sucked, and things turned out pretty good for each of them individually as the careers went on. We can debate who was the best of that bunch, but you get the point. And it's really up to Trevor Lawrence to figure things out along with Urban Meyer and the coaching staff. But basic Darwinism states that if you do not adapt to your environment, you will die. And in this case, your career will die. And people say, I remember how good Trevor Lawrence was in college. What happened? And then the good thing is you always have excuses, because the excuse makers they run behind you to make excuses. Well, it's not his fault. Urban Meyer's a college coach, and it's the bad offensive line, and he has no players around him. There's a million excuses. But as far as the offensive line, let me nip that in the bud right now. There are adjustments that one can make that you can employ to work around, circumvent, to some degree, a porous offensive line. In fact, as many cheap shots as I took at Peyton Manning during his career. Peyton Manning, Tom Brady does this, Drew Brees did it. There's an art when you have an offensive line that's not that great of doing a little tap dance, making quicker decisions. Only the fittest will survive, right? But there's no time to dilly-dally, and you have to undergo the metamorphosis. And it's all about resiliency, making quicker decisions, right? And that also involves the play calling, not running plays that take a long time to materialize. But you've got to be the bamboo. I'm going to go Vic the Brick, guy I used to work with in LA radio, the great Vic the Brick. You must be the bamboo. The bamboo that bends is stronger than the oak that resists, right? And Trevor Lawrence has to embrace this. I don't know if he is or not. I have no idea more than you whether or not Trevor Lawrence is going to embrace it. But as far as Urban Meyer and Lawrence side by side, this is an arranged marriage. You can't have one without the other. At least you can't have Urban Meyer unless you had Trevor Lawrence. And the idea, and Urban was getting just roasted, right? Urban was getting roasted. He doesn't know what he's doing. He's in over his head, all that. Piling on. I don't buy that. I guess I'm in the minority at this point, but Urban Meyer won, as a college coach, 85% of his games as a college head coach. At Ohio State, it was like 90%. They had a stat on the Monday night broadcast that while coaching the Buckeyes, Urban Meyer trailed by 20 or more points 3 times. That's it. In his entire tenure in Columbus, Ohio. 3 times with 20 or more point deficits. And so I'm in the camp that believes Urban Meyer will figure this thing out sooner than later. I'll be Benny Brightside on this one, as long as Urban Meyer doesn't toss in the headset and run back to the boob tube after one season because of some health scare, which has been his MO. When things go bad, he runs away. But assuming he sticks with it, he will be successful. And I guarantee you that no one is going to remember a Week 2 exhibition game between the Jags and Saints. Whether this turns out good or bad for Urban Meyer and Trevor Lawrence, this is not going to be the point of demarcation where people say, oh my God, I can't believe it. I cannot believe what happened. And it all started in that Monday night game. No, that's not how this is going to play out. Eventually, the crowd in Jacksonville will be rhythmically chanting Urban Meyer's name, not in a negative light, in a positive light. Urban Meyer! Urban Meyer!